Hello YouTube. I thought I would go through and show you how I edit one of these photos of a fitness shoot that I did last summer. Very hot outside, but this is one of the shots that we did later on, and as you can see here, I start out in Lightroom, and the first thing I do is I go to the white balance. I know there's a lot of ways to set white balance. You can put the gray card. I just do it by eye. You can go through and start out. I always start out as shot. That looks way too warm to me. So I'll try auto. A little too cool for me. It's at 3800 Kelvin and the as shot was 54. So somewhere in between there. So go down to about, I think that looks pretty good to me, about 4700 Kelvin. And then I took the exposure down. It was overexposed quite a bit because it was out in bright sun, and I have a strobe over here to the side adding light onto this side, but it was overexposed, so I brought the exposure down actually quite a bit. This otherwise would have been a lost shot, but because I shoot with Nikon, it has good dynamic range, and I was able to bring the exposure down. And then I go down here to whites, and you can see if you hold down the Alt key on a Mac and you slide that, you don't want any highlights. See, that starts to come in. When I drag that till you have no highlights, and for this photo it's around plus 13. Then I go do the same thing on blacks and drag it down, so then you see all that stuff start to dip down into being completely black, and you want to bring that back. That's actually -1 on blacks, and then I take a little bit of, see if you have the highlights up. Oh, if you have them too much in the highlights, so I bring that down just a touch to recover some of these really blown out areas. They're not really blown out, they're just kind of a little too bright for me. And then the shadows, I bring that up. You don't want to go too much, it looks unnatural. Still want to leave somewhere in there, and that's about where I leave it. And I don't do anything else. I don't do any extra sharpening or a color correction or anything like that yet. To me it looks fine. I don't see any huge issues that I need to correct, and it's not super sharp, but most people are not going to look at this way up this close. That's pretty sharp actually, but when you get up here to the eyes, they're not as sharp as I'd like, so I guess I could add a little bit of sharpening. And then if I do add sharpening, I go down here to masking, and there again holding down the Alt or Option key, bring that back and just sharpen the edges like so, because you don't want to sharpen all the detail in the skin, then it makes your job harder. So we're done there. So we just take that over to Lightroom, or I'm sorry, Photoshop, and voila, there it is. And I've already started. I had to stop recording because of some distraction. I'll walk through what I did. Obviously, here's the background photo, and then I just make a blank layer. And this is where I clean up blemishes. You can barely even see what I did there. I don't go crazy with this. I use this here, the second one down for the healing brush, where you have to sample. I usually zoom in a little bit, about somewhere in there. That's 100%. And I'll toggle that off and on. You can see I don't do a lot. You just want to clean up major things, like if there's big, loose hairs. Oops. And I don't really see any like that. Or if there's, blemishes, like this hair here, for example. It kind of looks out of place because it's just there. You could just take that out. So, and I don't really see, like I said, I just did some of the hairs up here. I want to do them all because you want to leave a little bit of, you want to keep it real. Keep it real, yo. Sorry, I won't do that again. And you can just go around and see if there's anything major that you want to get rid of. You don't want to get rid of moles, but you can get rid of stuff like that. Blemishes, like this. And maybe like that. That looks like a mole. So, just stuff like that. There's not a whole lot to do. If you take your time when you're shooting, and I didn't have a makeup artist on this. She just did her own makeup. It looks good. And then what I do is I come up here and I create another blank layer. And I know a lot of people, when they dodge and burn, there's a bunch of ways to dodge and burn. You can do curves layers. You can do a 50% gray. I just create a layer and set it to soft light. That's all I do. You don't have to do the 50% gray. And then I just come up here and I get a brush, set my brush at 1% flow, 100% opacity, 0% smoothing. And I just go around. Then I create this help layer. I have a couple different kinds of help layers for different situations. I have a guide layer that's 50% gray, and it's a 50% gray layer with the curves to bring down the exposure. And then I've got this monochrome one that I prefer most of the time, and it just really, as you can see, just shows you exactly where you need to dodge and burn. And I've already started a little bit. As I said, I stopped for technical difficulties, but I will catch you up. And as you can see, I haven't done a whole lot. I start way out here. I don't like to zoom way in at first, because you can take care of a lot of that macro stuff or micro stuff if you start on the macro level. Because if you zoom in and you're doing little spots here and there, sometimes if you just do this, you see a layer, a little bit of dark areas, you can go over it, and that, why do you zoom in and get every little dot? This just kind of gives a general, you're giving like a general shape to the face. And then that's about 20% zoomed in, and then I'll zoom in a little bit more. I do this about 3 times, and then I make the brush a little smaller each time and go in and find the areas. Everybody has areas on their face. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's just the way it is. Everybody has areas on their face that are uneven. And like I said, I've done a little bit on this already. You don't want to change a person to the point where they're unrecognizable. You just want to give the appearance that they're a little better than a version of themselves. So you just finding little uneven areas. I will zoom in. Once again, this is about 80%. You can go up to 100, somewhere in there. And then make the brush smaller again. And this is where I will get these little, I guess what you would call, some people zoom in even more, the micro dodge and burn, which I don't really do anymore. And this whole move towards realism and making things somewhat natural. So you want to, I don't know, I guess do what you want. But there's, and you don't need to make everything perfect here. We're just trying to diminish some of this, and I will even go back and reduce the opacity of this layer even further, just to bring back some of the flaw. And I don't do frequency separation anymore. I did do that, I'll admit, for a while. And you can get carried away. I'll freely admit that I have done that. But people change. And that is getting closer to where I want. Said you don't have to get every little thing, you just want to try to make them appear a little bit better version of themselves. I don't really use liquify, or only in drastic cases will I do that. But this, you get the gist of this. I don't know if you are still watching. I guess only geeky people like me that will sit and watch somebody dodge and burn for 10 minutes. Or, I don't even know how long I've been doing this. You lose track. I know I've posted a video of going through this very quickly, and I get a lot of people say, why don't you slow that down, I want to see what you're doing. I've never really done a tutorial. I might go up a little bit on the flow, 2%. Be amazed how much difference that little 1% in flow can make. And you don't want to get too caught up in getting super close and getting every little imperfection. Just wanted to take care of the major stuff. Let's say that's pretty close right now. Because you could go in and make the skin perfect, but nobody really looks like that, so quit it. come down here. There's some bigger, some areas down here. Need some general lightning. And you really can't see this stuff in the regular photo. This is just really accentuated by this help layer. You can really tell the people that have been out in the sun a lot when you do this, because they have spots all over their face. Some people would something like frequency separation in this area, but I don't think there's any need to do that. Keep it, natural for the most part. And then I will zoom out. I'm satisfied. And look for any areas that I think. A little bit down here. No, that's water spots, that's fine. Just water drops. And you occasionally want to zoom out and just check your progress and just see what you've done. See, all you're doing is just getting rid of the, smoothing out some of the minor stuff. See that? So I'm happy with that. So what I do now is more of like a global dodge and burn. For what that I do is just bring in a curves. I've created an action for that. I just hit that, bring that up. Although I never did, I forgot to see this one. This is high. I didn't put that in the action. I'll have to fix that someday. So I start here on the highs, and this is just to bring overall shape. You want to use a little bit bigger of a brush on this and just bring in, smooth out some things here. Maybe this dark area here. What I like to do is kind of bring a highlight into the stuff like that. See this here, the natural highlights, you can just enhance that just a touch, and then just bigger areas you can work in. Keep it subtle. Bring some accentuation to cheeks here. And just a little bit here to the bridge. I like to add a little here. Bring this up. Brightening there. And there. My dog is still licking his leg. Hindsight, I probably should have left him out. Ranger. I apologize. Goes through this ritual where he cleans his legs, his paws. He's keeping his feet clean, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. So I'm just smoothing out the transitions here, adding a little bit to some of the highlight areas. That will give it shape. It's like shading. If you've ever drawn, I used to draw a lot. And you're just like shading on photo, basically. You don't want to get too crazy. Like there. Give it some shape. That's how you make things round that are two-dimensional. You add dark and light in it. I like to do this, show the mask. See? Pretty cool. I go down here to the darkness area. Just kind of go around the shape. Bring some of that. This is like the makeup artists do the contouring. And you're just trying to highlight the shape of the face here. Give it some definition. After you've smoothed out the larger areas here. You want to keep it smooth because then you'll create more problems. Use too small of a brush and you get too, see like I did there, so I'm going to go back a couple steps where I got crazy there. You could also go back over it with a white brush. You just want to think about where the dark, under here there would be a shadow, here would be a shadow, here. You're just trying to create a little more dimension to a two-dimensional photo. It looks kind of creepy doing it on this help layer, but it really helps you see what you're doing. Of course, it helps when somebody's in good shape, muscles and stuff. You can really see the contours you're doing. This just reminds me so much of drawing, shading. I knew all those years I spent drawing and shading would pay off one day. That's when the big bucks start rolling in. This was maybe a little much. So you could just go hit X and go back and bring in white. Get rid of some of that. Hit X again, bring back your dark. Or your white to reveal the dark. Then you want to turn that off and see. There's the highlights. There's the shadows. You're not looking for dramatic changes because each one of these layers you're building onto the other layers, and all together they will make a difference little by little. No need to go completely nuts. I like to add a little bit of highlight in the color of the eyes here. See wherever this highlight is, or that catch light, usually opposite of that there will be another highlight. It's there, I just like to dial it in a little bit more. So when you zoom out, you can kind of see it. You might need to do it on this other layer. The curves layers are not very strong effect. You just get in here, bring some color in there, here like that. It's a little much, but I'll diminish it. I'll reduce the opacity of that. So back to here. So that's our highlights. I think I'll put a little bit more. This on here. Then I'll usually take this down to about 50%, somewhere in there. It still makes a difference, as you can see. And then the dark, same thing. Usually go in there, take that down to about 50 something. And it varies for every photo, obviously. As you can see there, it does make those shadows more noticeable than the highlights. I think that is the extent of dodging burning. So I will grab all those layers, hit Command G, and group them into dodge and burn. So from there, what I usually do is then go to color. And the first thing I do is I grab this vibrance and I jack that up. You can see what it's doing there. Now we've gone way too far, obviously, but in some of these areas, like in this pink and back there in the green, especially the green, it just helps those areas. I usually go around 50% or so, or plus 50. And then I bring the saturation down up to 3 or 4. You don't want to oversaturate like skin and stuff. So then I come up here to hue and saturation, and I grab this little finger and test the skin somewhere. And it's got red. This is all personal preference. There's no set amount, but I usually like to see how much red is in there. Looks It looks healthy to have some. I should bring that down around 20% or somewhere in there. And then the same on the yellows. I go in the yellow and just take a touch. Sometimes I even get like this, depending. But I think a little bit of yellow in there, somewhere in there. It gives a nice appearance of a tan, but it's not overcooked, you know, it's not. And then occasionally, I will do like a gradient map. I don't think it needs it on this one, but let me just show you how that works. So I go here to gradient map. Oh, that's crazy, you see. So you come up here, there's all these ones I have, and you can change which ones you have. There's all these different ones up here, metals, neutral density, and the ones I have is called photographic toning. And those are the ones I use to tone your photos, and you can go, this is one I use a lot, or that one. And you can grab these and change color, you can change how dark the shadows get. So if you had like a pale, somebody that was pale, and didn't have very good tan or something, you could put this gradient map on there. I usually set it to something like soft light, or you could, for a stronger effect, do multiply. And then I just bring the opacity down to somewhere in the area of like 15. Not a lot. You can see it makes a difference there. Actually, it doesn't look too bad in here. I know it doesn't make sense, you're saying. Took the orange, the red and yellow out, and I'm adding brown back in. It's not bad. But another thing you can do with that, I'll delete that, is you can go to gradient map and go to like a black and white one, like so. And set it to soft light and use it for contrast. If you want to increase the contrast, and it's about 15% there. See, that just kind of kicks up the contrast a bit. I don't know if I like that. I kind of prefer the less contrasty. But I thought I'd show you that. And sometimes another thing I like to do is go down here to the selective color. Whoops, yeah, there it is, selective color. And I don't mess around with the reds, I go usually just to neutrals. And you can adjust, see that's cyans, and I think this way it's magenta. And you can, I don't want to mess with that, I don't want to bring any of that in. And same thing with magenta, you can, it's like green, or dial in a little bit of magenta, which I really want to do. What you can do is like this yellow, see the yellow really comes in. Go to the blue. So this is the mid-tones, neutrals. And you can use that to get like some of the yellow out. I'll just put it +1. You don't have to use a whole lot on this one. But what I really like to do is go here to the blacks, and yeah, a little bit like this. That one I won't mess around with too much. You add a little bit of magenta, see that in the blacks. You should just go about 1, and add a little bit of blue into the, blue into the blacks. That's too much, but that just gives you an idea what it does. It's like -2 or 3. It just kind of adds, it gives it like a nice, like almost a deeper look to it. And I'll show you the difference there. It's not a huge change, but it's just very subtle. I may even take that down a little bit more. And there again, I will group those all together, and I call that color. And that's about it. That's really all I do. I don't want to get too, you know, you can do some cleanup, like this stuff back here. I don't even know what this is. Flowers or leaves or whatever. But I don't get that far, and you can see it really has a nice natural look to it. Oh, I was gonna this other dodge and burn down here, right here. I think it's fine. I'm gonna reduce that a bit, but I think it's fine. So let me just show you where we started. That was there. He took some of the blemishes out, and then that dodge and burn usually makes the most difference. Just adds some nice shape and highlights. And then color, which is very subtle. And that's it. I hope you learned something or pick something up. If you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments down there. And if you like this content, want to see more of it, like and subscribe my videos, and hopefully I can bring you more. We'll see you on the next one.